mission is to illuminate the work that Pinellas Hope has done in the past to end poverty, how they are currently meeting the needs of the homeless in Florida, their current needs, and ways to support their work. We will seek to create a clear connection between UN Goal Number 1 and how Pinellas Hope is reaching that goal. Our documentary will increase awareness of Pinellas Hope's mission and how anyone watching can take action in reaching the UN goal of ending poverty.
End poverty in all its form, everywhere. Pretty big goal, and a difficult word to imagine. How could we end poverty entirely, completely, without women all across the world? This is the very thing that the United Nations members have dared to dream, dared to make a bold goal. UN Sustainable Development Goal Number 1, the first and foremost to end poverty. Ending poverty on a global scale may seem challenging, but its success depends on individuals in their local community acting. Target number 1: to eradicate extreme poverty measured by those living under $1.25 a day, according to the United Nations.
And I've been on the street since 1981, living by myself. And then I had a lot of trouble. Hit and runs, so on and so forth, attacks, running out of the availability of buying tents and camping equipment because they closing down some of these stores.
Once you become homeless, it's hard to come out of it.
Individuals from all walks of life can experience poverty. Homelessness is a form of poverty and a form that is easier to identify. According to Lynn Herder, homelessness is one of our country's gravest forms of poverty, a perplexing societal problem that is strikingly discordant with the image of the United States as a prosperous land of opportunity.
Because I want to go home. I like to go home, but they're giving me a hard time. People are giving me a lot of trouble around here being on the street. And pretty soon they started calling. Again and again and again, just because I was on the street.
Yeah.
I guess they were probably thinking that I was dirty, that I was doing things that was dirty. You have to go to the bathroom and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've been digging holes and putting my stuff like in my waist. But I tried to keep it as clean as I possibly could. It's just an awful treatment. It's just an awful place to be on the street. But I made up my mind. And that's where I'm going to stay right now until I get somebody to listen.
Your body aches every day from being on the ground, on concrete, in the grass. You got police harassing you all the time because...
Yeah, my name is Mike Hearn. I am a semi-retired pastor. Right now, I currently work for the Salvation Army as a counseling and teaching pastor. We specialize in helping rehab those guys that are really struggling with drugs and alcohol. Their addictions are taking them down to a really low spot. And I work part-time in the Salvation Army. I have about a 30-man caseload where I talk to these guys individually. I teach 2 classes a week and counsel these guys, and I'm a biblical counselor, so I come at it from a biblical perspective.
My name is Joe Pandolfino. I'm the director of Pinellas Hope, and we have a shelter, and a temporary shelter, and some permanent supportive housing units. So we serve close to 400 people at a time here.
The ages, we have about 100 guys in the facility. They range anywhere from 22 years old to 64 years old. They come from all backgrounds of life. They're not just Floridian boys. They're guys from everywhere. Some of them have a college education. Some of them have maybe a 7th or 8th grade education. Some of them come from a background of extreme poverty. And some of them come from a background of addictions themselves. But some of them are educated and they came from a very, very strict home with high expectations of utilizing an education to better themselves. Some of these guys, when they fall into hard times because of an accident or an injury and they get hooked on some kind of pills for painkillers, and that just spirals out of control. And so some of these guys have absolutely lost everything. I mean, they have some. I counsel guys that haven't had a driver's license in over 20 years, and they've been divorced. They've lost connection with their children, with their families. Have disowned them. They can't hold a job. They have no insurance. Some of them are living in the streets before they get to where we are, and so it's a wide package of guys that are really broken.
Target number 2, to reduce the total number of individuals experiencing poverty of any kind by 50%. According to Robert Rector, an individual should be deemed to be in poverty or hardship if any of the following 3 conditions exist. Number 1, the individual frequently lacks sufficient food to eat or is significantly undernourished due to an inability to afford or obtain sufficient food. The condition number 2, the individual lives in housing that is severely overcrowded with more than 1.5% per room, is severely dilapidated, or is unsafe. The last and third condition, the individual has a significant health impairing medical condition, require treatment, and cannot afford or otherwise obtain medical care.
So because of the St. Petersburg police slashing the tents, Pinellas Hope was born. And tell me what Pinellas Hope is.
Pinellas Hope is a good place to live. I mean, I would recommend it to anybody.
We're trying to assist those that are most in need and most ready to move on.
Yeah, we have, besides the Pinellas Hope Shelter, we have the Pinellas Hope Apartments. And those are 156 permanent supportive housing apartments in the back of our property here. So we have 156 formerly homeless people. So in the shelter, the goal is to find housing. And in the apartments, the goal is to keep them housed. Okay. And they both present challenges, as you might understand.
According to David Novak and Lynn Harder, visibility is one of the most identifiable attributes of contemporary homelessness in the U.S. when considered in light of historical conditions that remove people without home from the public sphere.
Well, I think poverty still remains to be poverty. I think our challenge is it's getting more expensive all the time to find housing and remain housed and to provide some type of living for yourself. Probably, I think here in Florida, over 50% of the people that rent or pay mortgages pay more than 50% of their income towards that. And that's just getting higher and higher. I have a lot of people here who make a very low income. There's a lot of people on disability here who make an average of $914 a month. And that's it.
Here's the perspective of one individual we interviewed.
How the hell you live off $600 a month? You can't even pay your rent for $600 a month.
They say it's $1,000 a month. That's the poverty line in Florida.
Shit. A one-bedroom apartment right now today is $1,500 to $1,800 a month. And that's for a piece of shit.
Target number 3. Implement nationally appropriate social protection system.
When you're homeless for a period of time, some of the activities of daily living are a little remiss and they need some help with that. Anything as much as paying your rent, following up on your medical appointments, and it could be a whole host of problems.
So I blame myself. Now I got to go with the punches and buck up and live life, survive. I don't know where I'm gonna get my next meal tomorrow.
What do you need to get back on your feet? Yeah, like what? How do we help you?
What does it take to get into a new apartment?
I don't know.
What does it take to find a job? Because you can't take showers every day, right?
Yeah.
So I go 30 days without a damn shower, And I'm thinking like, hell, you expect me to go to an interview? I'm looking like a bum. They're gonna look at me and go, "You gotta be crazy. You come in, I got a degree. And I can prove it to you. Then why are you down and out like this?"
Practitioners agree that homelessness involves a complex web of issues that define simple solutions, including a lack of low-income housing, deinstitutionalization, unemployment, domestic violence, substance abuse, and mental illness.
Just because you're homeless doesn't mean you're a bad person. I mean, there's people out there that had problems, lost their kids, do drugs, all that shit to get away from and escape from all that. Throughout the years, I've gotten stronger. Now I'm getting a job. I'm gonna get my place back. I got a tax check coming in. I worked my ass off. You got your druggies now. They're gonna do dope. They shoot up and all that. Those are the bad ones. But they need help too. Something happened to make them squat to that level. Because once you get caught homeless, you get caught in that drug game, you're addicted, and you're gonna stay there. I'm trying to dig out. I'm trying to get the hell out of there.
Yes, that's a good piece of it, yes. Some of these guys have lost, when I said they lost everything, they came from a home which is, you would consider poor or impoverished, but then they perpetuate that because the only relief and the escape they can find from that is to get high or to get drunk. And so that just keeps them in that state, and they don't see a way out. They really just make enough money to keep their habit going. And on the other side of that, though, some of these guys come in with an addiction, and they still have a little bit of money in the bank. They haven't blown it all. They still have maybe some property that's kind of on hold, or somebody within the family is holding it for them. But they just can't seem to. They keep falling into the same relapse cycle of addiction. And it's a powerful, powerful stronghold. I'm a biblical counselor, so I come at all of this from a biblical perspective.
I ask for a commitment from everybody that comes here, and what I say is that your chances of success are so much better if you don't drink or drug while you're here. And I hope they can make that commitment. And then if they fall back on that and they don't do well with that, we look at each one individually. And it could be as simple as, well, can you recommit and get successful here and not drink or drug while you're here so we can help you? And if they can make that commitment, we'll do that. If their problem seems to be of a greater degree, we might refer them to a substance abuse agency, such as Turning Point, and go there for a few weeks to a month, and then come back and we'll work with you again.
Target number 4. Equal access to economic resources, as well as access to basic services, ownership and control over land and other forms of property, inheritance, natural resources, appropriate new technology, and financial services.
The goal is to find people housing, but in order to find people housing, there's many steps that have to take place. The first step is getting them all of their documents, because people will come in here without any ID, without any social security card, without any birth certificate. So we work right away to get them document ready. And once that happens, then they're more apt to get a job and then can apply for apartments. But other challenges come up, such as mental illness and substance abuse, criminal justice history, family breakdown, just a whole host of problems that we have to address. So someone might come in here without a job, without any documentation, so we want to get them documentation and then maybe try to get them into the work field. And then once they're working, it's about saving money and trying to make a livable wage. Sometimes they'll have mental health problems, which we try to refer them and get them connected to a mental health agency or a substance abuse agency. So it's a lot. Every person poses their own individual challenges to getting housed, and that's what our caseworkers do every day, is trying to address those challenges.
People that you meet on the streets, I'm telling you, like I said, 30% are good people. They might do drugs or whatever just to get away from this, stress. it's stressful. You gotta find a place to stay all the time. Cops are kicking you out here, cops are kicking you out there, you know, and keep trespassing you and everything. You know, it's basically hard to find where to go. You can't just go up and sit on somebody's porch step, can you?
Target number 5. Help guard the vulnerable from natural disasters that may occur.
There's things. I'll give you another example. You asked me about the Goodwill Salvation Army that falls with ministry. Well, they want things done their way. Okay. Well, if they close everything down and use all that money and all their effort to build cottages, and I would love to live way out, keep bees, keep the sheep or goats. Yeah. And I need a place to live. So, you know, if they want to try to make money, I would be there, you know, just to stay on the property and be a shepherd. They call it a shepherd's quake or a good shepherd.
Target number 6. Mobilize resources and coordinate to provide means of implementing programs that aid the impoverished.
The only thing I can comprehend is that, you know, there's two types of people. There's a person that you give something to that's going to mess it all up and maybe turn it into a drug house, a prostitution, whatever. Yeah. But then there's a person that really needs the help and needs to get out of here. Yeah. And I'm one of those people that need to get out.
How can the people at home help? Well, I think the people at home, either within my home or within our city of Clearwater or the county of Pinellas or the state of Florida or the United States of America, no matter what the grand stage may be, I think it's to teach people how they can take care of themselves financially. Now, that doesn't mean you give them handouts, which just enables them to continue along this poverty line of thinking and mindset, but to help with educational reform, help with job instruction, job sites, and so forth. Everybody's got some kind of a gift. But the problem is, we really can't help those unless they really, truly want to get help. And there's where it starts. You have to really want. You have to really want counseling. And some guys are there because they're court ordered to be there. And they don't have a choice. They're going to get their parole reduced or their jail time reduced if they spend 6 months in this program. But for me, it's like, if I'm going to help, I have to find an organization that I can give my money to, outside of what I already give to the church, because I believe in tithing. I have to find an organization that I trust that's going to start building programs to help the impoverished help themselves, so that they're not always depending upon a handout. They get skilled workers of some capacity. The details of that, we have people trained in social services that help do that around our country. And I think our government should see the big difference between those that are extremely wealthy and those that people that have nothing. I think there should be a way that we can help within that guideline. But the bottom line for me is, Jesus was homeless. He never owned any property. It doesn't say that he put his best clothes on to go to the temple to teach. So I think we have to keep this in perspective of what's really valuable. I mean, depression, mental illness, and all those kinds of anxiety issues, some of these kinds of things can be controlled from the pharmaceutical position. I think God is the ultimate supreme pharmacist. He can cure us and heal us without pharmaceutical aid or with it, either one, as long as we don't abuse it. But I think we need to establish more ways to get people to understand that they have a way that they can help themselves through some kind of programs that are going to give them the confidence and the skill they need to do so.
We are a contact point for a lot of different agencies in the community, such as Operation PAR or Suncoast, or Directions for Living. They will come here when they're doing some outreach to work with different clients. So sometimes they'll be doing their sessions right here. Other times we'll just connect them to their agencies and help them get to those appointments. We have referral sources throughout the county. We have several different municipalities, St. Pete, Officer Filipponi is one of their outreach officers, and then there's an outreach worker that works with him named April. Anybody from St. Pete can contact them and get put on the list here. We have the Clearwater Police Department, we have Largo Police Department, we have outreach workers throughout the county that wherever you are, you can get connected to one of those outreach workers. They'll put them on the list to be admitted, and then as long as we have room, we'll admit you. You just got to be 18 years of age and in Pinellas County.
So to recap, what I think you're telling me is a good way for people to help if they feel inclined, even better than just giving somebody money on the street. You would actually recommend giving money, time, volunteering to organizations that prioritize education and training and teaching people how to hold themselves out of poverty rather than constantly giving them a handout.
Exactly. That's perfectly said. That's exactly what I stand for. Now, I'm somewhat biased because I do work for the Salvation Army. That's a program that does things that we do things like that. There are other things I'm sure maybe Goodwill Services do things help to train people. But I think our government needs to be more active and actively involved with that. There are other nations that are around this globe that do that, and then they don't have the population of homeless, despairing people like we do. And I think we need to kind of.
So would you say it's necessary or effective to have a place to stay for these people before they engage in that training?
Good question. That's going to cost some money, of course.
Yeah.
At the Salvation Army, we have that. They stay at the facility. We have full dining service. We give them clothes from the donation center. They go to classes, Bible classes. They go to other type of classes about anger management. They work in the warehouses. It's called work therapy. It's part of their therapy along with biblical training. So we do have those kind of facilities right within the Salvation Army Adult Rehab Center, the ARC. Now I'm sure there's other facilities like that around. I'm not that familiar with it because my focus has been on the Salvation Army because it's a Christ-centered help agency.
What's the process? An individual in the street, I want to recommend somebody to go to the Salvation Army. What's the process?
Good question also. Well, first of all, we've got judges in our judiciary system. When these guys stand before a judge and they've got charges brought against them that has to do with drug and alcohol abuse, and the judge will say, well, listen, I'm going to give you, if you go to the Salvation Army and spend 6 months there and you have a good report from them, and you're 6 months clean and sober, I will reduce either your jail time or your probation time. And so when a guy comes in, some guys just come in from the street because they have no place else to go. Their family has closed every single door. They're tired of enabling this kind of behavior because all they do is take advantage of people by getting high or getting drunk constantly. And so some people come in right from the streets. They've been living under a bridge or out in the streets for literally months and sometimes years, and they've just had enough. And they come to the Salvation Army. First thing we do, and they may be recommended by a police officer, by a judge, by a family member, by a pastor, by a priest.
Well, financial giving is always a good idea because we operate on a deficit, but this is such an important program for Catholic Charities that we're not going to see it fail. But we do rely on the goodwill of others. We're a $2.1 million budget here, and we get about half of that in funding. So the rest is from donations, the goodwill of others, and Catholic Charities as a whole picks up the tab. So, to support us, every meal is donated here. 365 days a year, we rely on that. If we didn't have that, I don't think we could sustain it. So different parishes and different groups come in and they provide meals every day. We're always looking for more of that. Certain volunteer areas we need. You just have to contact us to let you know what's available. But yeah, there's opportunities for volunteering as well.